I trying to think of his name.
Yeah.
Put that at the end of the show.
No.
There's a keeper.
End of the show, no beeps.
This is NFL Daily. It's week 8. We're doing a preview show. We're in the Chris Wesseling podcast studio. Yes, we're going to make you beep that, Eric. Steve Wyche, Jourdan Rodrigue, and Patrick Claybon are all here today. What a day it's going to be. What a way to start.
Week 8. I love it.
It's the eve of the midway point of the season, and we got it.
I was trying to think of the actor's name who I was called a low-rent version of, and it was related to our conversation.
Adam Brody.
Adam Brody.
Yes.
Earlier today, and I couldn't
Why
think of
did
his...
that come to me so quickly?
I
Who's
couldn't
to say?
think of his name, and we were having a conversation about lookalikes and whatever.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say, I'm not a low-rent Adam Brody.
No.
I'm like a medium rent. You know, maybe not like Santa Monica prices, but like... You're not saving money on me as Adam Brody.
That's a pretty strong comp. I'm sitting here looking at it right now. Like,
I mean, I would-
and definitely no rent part to it. I mean,
I would take
you're
that.
like,
Well, like literally lower, maybe lower ceiling.
Yeah.
Like
I won't
6
take,
inches.
I won't take too much of everybody's time. But there's a segment of the population that over-indexes in offering their, I'll save you the beeps, opinion saying that people look like other people.
Yes.
And they're constantly wrong.
Yeah.
And they meet a stranger, and the first thing they say to this
Yeah.
human being who has existed for the entirety of their life is that they look like somebody else. It's like, has anybody ever told you look like this? No, idiot. Nobody's ever said that. What about hello? What if you could talk and meet with and greet with somebody in a normal sense? You tell them who they look like? They look in the mirror every day. Shut up.
Yes. I recently had an experience with this where not only did, and I have a twin sister, so I'm used to being
Right.
told I look alike.
Dude,
someone
you guys do look alike.
Yes, we do look alike. I was recently told by a man that I did not know at all, who was up there in age, that I looked like somebody, and he could have just left it there.
Mm-hmm.
And then he decided to add, and she was my childhood crush. Good for you.
Mm.
And I was like, I'm going to walk away now.
That leaves the segment of people I was talking to, and that's
Yeah.
just creeps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
There's a Venn diagram happening here,
That's-
Patrick.
that's just bad old
one
man
time
game.
you told me you were in line behind Adam Brody.
I was. I probably told the story on the same show like a year ago, and like everything else, I forgot all about that. So Adam Brody, over-indexing on NFL Daily. Big fan. Check out Nobody Wants This Season 2 coming up on Netflix. We were actually paid. This whole thing was sponsored.
Yes.
yeah.
It's our preview show, and it's a little different this week. We're breaking it up, but we decided this week because the AFC, the NFC, it wasn't making sense this week. There wasn't enough
Too many buys.
NFC games and everything. So we're going to do the early games, and we're going to do the late games, just how you watch it on Sunday, and I'm excited for that.
I'm excited for it too, because shout out to chronological order. I know the algorithms
Yes.
got rid of that on social media because the worst people in the world who get to dictate how we consume content made those decisions. How about this? We're in chronological order, baby. And we start with the New York Giants at the Philadelphia Eagles, who have a chance to get revenge from the start of their disastrous stretch where they lose 2 games. Oh, yeah, they won against the Vikings. They're back. They're good. They're favored by 7.5 points. Over under 43.5. Steve, Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady on the call. Does Jaxson Dart befuddle the Eagles once again?
A 7.5? Is this the Brandon Graham bounce? That's a big number. That's a big number. Look, I love the way Philly played last week. I mean, he'd be able to hit the big plays. Now, can they do it consistently? We'll see against this defense. I like Philadelphia in this game. That number is way too big for me. I like the fact that Jalen Hurts, though, showed up. He took everything and said, you know what? Let me throw it. Let me get it to my guys. Let's calm everybody down and let's play ball.
Did he calm everybody down, though? Because A.J.
Well, it's
Brown
Philadelphia.
had another weird Instagram.
It's just at some point, like AJ can just post on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like we don't have to
Just set your
delve
clock.
deep, and it's like Taylor Swift tweets before an album release every single week, and people are like, "Oh, so AJ said this. This clearly means that." Like, let's just
Using me, but not using me. We don't have to delve deep. I think they'll be using him a lot, though, this week because this Giants secondary already had issues. If they don't have Paulson Adebo and Javon Holland, who were out of practice on Wednesday, they are in deep trouble because the drop-off to Deonte Banks, who was a first-round pick for them, you could see it in that fourth quarter comeback by the Broncos. Javon Holland was actually out for a lot of that game. Drew Phillips is about the most targeted player in the league, and he has made a lot of big plays, and he has given up a lot of big plays, but you have a lot of Giants fans who are not happy with that secondary. And I think the Eagles are admitting basically they should be a pass first team. They're not a good running team. Not that they have to give up on the run, but they should be better at passing the ball.
It is October, season of Halloween. I just kept having this image in my head of that famous, and now I can't remember the name of it because I've been ill. But it's the famous movie with the three witches, and they pull out this
Hocus Pocus.
and they pull out this giant book, and it's got an eyeball on it, and it creaks open, and all the dust comes off of it. That's the play action passing game plan.
Oh, let's go.
Oh, okay. That's the only time I will yell today. Sorry to the listeners there on that one. But yeah, I think that them showing that a little bit more diversity in what they want to do and how they want to move Jalen Hurts' spot. Yes, it was only technically 4 plays, highly, highly productive passing plays, 30 yards per throw, per completion on those play action passing game concepts. And I just think that this is a promising start for an Eagles team that, yes, as Lane Johnson said, had to get a little bit more predictable in that regard.
Yeah, and I'm with Greg. I mean, after seeing what Denver did to that Giants secondary once those injuries happened, there's no reason why Philadelphia's not going to attack that early, try to soften it so Saquon can go ahead and get some against his old team.
On the other side, Vic Fangio has been blitzing more to try to manufacture pressure, and Brandon Graham coming back is great, but I don't know how many snaps he's going to actually play right off of the podcasting couch. Shout out to our friend Bo Wolf and PHLY podcast over there. But if you can rush Jaxson Dart with 4, he is way, way worse than he is against the blitz. He's actually playing pretty well against the blitz. He's getting blitzed a lot, and he's completing the 4th highest amount of passes per next gen in the NFL against the blitz specifically. But when he just rushes 4, the numbers almost invert, and he sort of fritzes out and then
you can kind of see it because they just don't have a drop back passing game where he hits guys on like his best plays are create a play, which he's been great at, but there's not a lot of conventional offense.
And to his defense, you get late in that game. There's no Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
Right.
Wandale is seeing coverage by some of the best secondary players in the NFL, so it's tough. But the one thing that we didn't see, because he's averaging 12 plus EPA on scramble runs since he took over, he didn't have a scrambling first down against the Denver Broncos as well as he played in that game. And so this is our first chance to get a defense's second look through at the RPA game with Brian Daboll and Jaxson Dart. And I'm interested how
That's a great point. That's a great point, Patrick.
And they're going for a sweep. This is such a big game in the Giants season. I think people have just kind of crossed them off. They could easily be 3-4 coming into this and trying to get the sweep. If they get the sweep, that's a massive moment in the Brian Daboll experience. But if not, they're 1-3 in the division already. They've played so many division games. They're pretty buried. They're at 2-6, and that little uptick is now really just a nice part of the season, and the rest of it is just about developing their quarterback. Here's the thing, though. There's zero chance the Eagles get pressure with 4. This is the best tackle combination maybe in the league right now. I mean, Nick Bonito, he didn't just get shut out last week. In the terms of pass rush win rate, you don't see this too often. It was a 0%. And immediately you think Andrew Thomas, no slight. Everyone, that's happening against everyone with the Giants, but it wasn't all Andrew Thomas. It's actually a lot of Jermaine Illuminor. Yeah. So they're a really good pass protecting team on the edges. And I think the Eagles, that's a weakness for the Eagles this year.
And here's a tease. Go read my pal, Charlotte Carroll at The Athletic, who has a feature coming soon on why, and I won't spoil it here, on why that offensive line is playing so well together right now. Somehow their cosmic timing has all seemed to link up pretty well. And that's all I'll say about that. But it is interesting. We're talking about the Giants offensive line as one of the better groups in the league, and they look it. And we're also talking about the Eagles offensive line that needed a bounce back game and kind of sneaky got it last week in a big way, which I think is important.
Yeah, especially in terms of the blitz pickup. You would like to see Saquon get back because he's almost a full 2 yards on yards per carry behind where he was last year on outside runs. And, we talked about imagination. They literally ran the same run play within 5 plays. They just ran it to the other side last week. So all the celebration of Jalen hitting those deep balls to AJ and Devonta last week, the run game still kind of needs to get a little more diversity to the same extent that they had last year.
It's weird. Saquon Barkley's not on pace for 1,000 rushing yards this year.
There's no explosives. Every week we saw him hit one for at a minimum 45 yards. That just has not happened this season.
Landon Dickerson came back from an injury, though, and looked better. We also should know The Giants cut their kicker, Jude
Oh yeah.
McAtamney, from Ireland. You
Well,
feel for that
at least
kid.
they let him get back on the plane.
You
I thought
feel
they were
for him, a guy who kind of came from a non-traditional football background, got his chance. It did not go well, and we'll see. They could go with Younghoe Koo, who lost the battle to him supposedly in practice, or Graham Gano is coming off an injury and was
Lucky Bill
activated.
They were
I don't
real
know.
quick to say that Graham Gano has been activated.
It's rough.
So that was
it's a rough
real
spot.
quick.
It's on them, by the way. They went into that season with a 38-year-old kicker who hasn't been good and has been hurt 2 straight years. So, Joe Shane, I'm watching you.
Well, when you're in a place where a couple folks need it to be somebody else's fault, it's a difficult place to kick footballs because it's hard to kick footballs in the NFL. To our next opportunity, the Chicago Bears, winners of 2 consecutive games. The ground game is going. And we get to ask Gregg Rosenthal, as the Baltimore Ravens are at home, favored by 6.5 points after coming off not being able to stop anybody. The over-under is 49.5. Ian Eagle and Justin James Watt on the call. What is the value, Greg, of a bye, and was it good enough for the Baltimore Ravens to fix things?
Yes, if it means that Lamar Jackson's back on the field. Sometimes you wonder how much does Vegas know, because this number was there before.
They know us, Greg.
Yeah, if he's not out there, obviously that's not the number. And he was out there on Wednesday practice, but they said he was taking reps
Pretty limited
behind Tyler Huntley and Cooper Rush. So that's obviously the biggest factor. Maybe there's a thought, Patrick, and they are healthier on defense. They're getting a lot of guys back, including Roquan Smith, it sounds like. That defensive performance, they did show something in their last game before the bye. There were signs there that they made some improvements. The pass rush to me is still the biggest problem, but maybe against Caleb Williams, like this isn't that big of a week where you need the pass rush because he's going to hold the ball anyways and hasn't really been seeing things clearly.
But they've been running it. They've been running the ball well. I mean, DeAndre Swift had back-to-back good games. We talked about it before. The offensive line, especially some of the combinations they have on each side, is performing really well in the run game. You see in this outside, well, this is inside zone right here, the way they're blocking on the video, the folks watching on YouTube. And that's what's setting up the passing game. I do think Baltimore is going to be better. They have no choice, actually. I think if they come out and stumble right here, it's not over for them, but it's over for them.
Chicago looks really one-dimensional right now. To you guys' point, it's good for them that it's in the run game. It's good for them that this is the foundation that's being set, especially post-bye. We talked about it on a previous show, especially their zone runs coming out of that bye week. It's like everybody finally got on the same page, and it's not just that Theo Benedict is in, has replaced the previous starter, but also this whole group is communicating really well. And DeAndre Swift is picking up more than what he's been blocked for. And prior to the bye, he was picking up less than what was being blocked open for him. So that's a huge swing and a huge change. And it's good because Caleb Williams is still having kind of these up and down games. This last game against the Saints can't really rush the passer. The Saints can't really get pressure effectively. And he was holding the ball, and it's not like they were covering a crazy amount. He just wasn't like fully sure of what he was seeing. And when he was scrambling and when he was kind of moving out of structure, he was not picking his spots where he could run. Instead, he was throwing, and then vice versa. He talked about it in the media, and Ben Johnson did as well last week. It's like being a little bit more decisive, being a little more quick with his decision making. And Ben Johnson also put some of that on his own shoulders as the play caller as well, setting up a little bit more layers.
They also had five false starts. That's pretty embarrassing for this deep into the season.
Yeah.
But you can, at least with this staff, because Ben Johnson had said he had lost sleep personally over the lack of success in the ground game, where he said sometimes they were blocking it up properly and the holes weren't getting run through. Sometimes every hole they tried to run through wasn't necessarily blocked up properly. And I love the way that he has kind of vocalized the accountability for everybody without being mean-spirited or like undermining.
That doesn't happen in the NFL.
Yeah, perhaps we'll get to some other teams where that's not necessarily the case. And the bye had that value for them. And then you look over at the Baltimore Ravens, where the bye gave a lot of Ravens fans chances to look at what was going wrong. And even when 8 was playing, the protection from Daniel Falele, it's been highlighted. And so you look at where they were successful. Lamar was completing 91% of his passes on play action before the injury. And I really think that was a virtue of Well, you have a play that looks like a run block to start things off, and then Lamar figures it out. The rest of everything needs to be figured out in this one, and I'm interested to see, one, if Falele's playing in this game, and two, what the play calling looks like if he's in there, and if 8's in there.
And they got some outside zone working with Derrick Henry, at least early in that game against the Rams, where they kind of look like themselves again. Your boy Nate Wiggins, I don't know if it's your boy, but he's on the Ravens. He's been playing great.
That's my boy.
But he's on the Ravens.
I just assume that's anyone on the Ravens. He's been great. So not everyone is struggling, but their rookie Malachi Starks has been in the middle of a lot of problems. And then Marlon Humphrey was not at practice Wednesday, which is surprising because he was there Monday. Jair Alexander's still getting his knee drained. So people always think like, the bye, that's going to solve all of our injury problems. But it's like, it's 1 week. It doesn't necessarily solve everything.
Yeah, and you talk about Malachi Starks. I mean, where the Ravens, for 2 years in a row now, have gotten tagged as in the middle of the defense. You know, everyone thinks Kyle Hamilton can solve everything, but you can't just move into a certain position and think, okay, because he's back off the line of scrimmage, it's going to solve everything. Everything else has to work. They asked their interior linebackers to do a lot in the pass and the run game. And this is one right here where I think Chicago, with their tight ends, could do a little something and cause them some problems.
The amount of a lot for everybody in that second and third level gets to be more when, as Greg pointed out, you can't get pressure on the quarterback.
Yep.
And then you're asking guys who, let's be frank, with the injuries, who could not run to cover people that they can't cover anyway. So it was a rough opportunity, but perhaps the bye, we'll have a chance.
It feels like kind of a massive game.
I agree.
I know you're a Raven. I might have to take this game. I just feel like the Ravens got to win this game. And if the Bears actually can get this done, then it
5 in a row
starts feeling like, okay, this is a real thing.
All right, let's discuss another team that just keeps winning despite all the obstacles going on the road where they are favored. It is Kyle Shanahan's San Francisco 49ers, 1.5 point favorites against a rough-looking Houston Texans offense that got the loss on Monday night in Seattle. As Jourdan, the over-under is 41.5. Kevin Kugler and Moose Johnston on the call. What can Nick Caley's squad do against this 49ers defense, this resurgent youthful group that, despite the injuries, keeps getting stops?
Yeah, it's just a really masterful coaching job by Robert Saleh and partnering with Kyle Shanahan again, kind of back in his happy place. I remember talking to him during training camp about just the level of competitiveness that, Kyle Shanahan, I think, especially after Robert Saleh was a head coach himself, really has leaned on him. And there's been, I think, a little bit more like pure collaboration versus pure competition. And several years ago when Robert Saleh was there before, it was an all-out battle schematically at practice, even trying to figure out different advantages in each other's defense. It famously led to Robert Saleh's wide nine and all of these types of things, trying to stop Kyle Shanahan's outside zone and all of his like hybrid freak players that he had. Well, now there's a lot of collaboration purely for the growth of the roster. And they really, I think, in their scouting and their talent identification departments, have found young players who are fully bought in and have this energy. And it like, I know 49ers fans don't want to hear it, but it reminds me a lot of the 2023 Rams, where there is no expectations. That was self-inflicted by the Rams in terms of the roster overhaul. This is less so because there's so many injuries everywhere. But you've got like Tatum Bethune coming out of nowhere, having just an absolutely electric game, filling in for Fred Warner, wearing his jersey to the stadium. You have guys like Upton Stout playing bigger than his size week after week. You've got Alfred Collins, who looks really good in the middle. Mykal Williams looks especially good, against the run. And I just feel like this is a group, they're playing without the weight of expectations, and like every single opportunity is one for them purely to grow, and then the results sort of are speaking for themselves. I think it's a fantastic job by that entire organization to come this far the way that they have.
I played a Falcons team that didn't challenge them.
Yeah.
I mean, they just ran some obvious, okay, let's run a screen, let's throw everything outside and see if they can catch us. It was a terrible game plan by Atlanta. Houston doesn't have that opportunity. Their play calling was a mess against Seattle when they went for it. The off tackle run, 2 plays in a row on 3rd and 4th down when your offensive line's getting reset.
And the numbers weren't there.
They ran it there. They ran it to the freaking weak side of the offense and got stood up twice. It's frustrating. People can come down on CJ Stroud all they want, and he's not blameless in all of this. But we've seen it when he doesn't have any time and he doesn't trust what's in front of him. It's a disaster. And most quarterbacks are like that. Now, we don't know if Nico Collins is going to be able to play in this game.
Yeah.
It sounds like he won't. He's in the concussion
Right, he had the
protocol. He
concussion the other
did
day.
suffer a concussion. He was not at practice Wednesday, and neither was Christian Kirk.
Well, then
Yeah.
that's kind of, if you're not at practice at all, because usually on Wednesdays you're on the field in some way, shape, or form. Thursdays you're going through it. That's kind of leading to the track. So, I mean, they just don't have a threat
Yeah.
offensively, and that's an issue. Defensively, those dudes are playing their hearts out.
Mhm.
I mean, so maybe they can get some takeaways. I mean, you never know what's going to happen with that. Maybe they can rattle Mac Jones because that defense is as legit as it comes.
Yeah.
But offensively, man, it is a nightmare. I didn't think it get worse than it did last year. It is worse.
It is worse.
not
Yeah,
good.
it looks, certainly the tape looks worse. Points per game is still about the same, but the tape looks
Because of that
worse.
one game. Other than
Yeah.
that, there's 16 points a game.
That
other
one
than
game
right.
against.
The Ravens.
Yeah, against the Ravens. That's it.
Against the
well-
worst version of
I was-
this Ravens
Yeah.
defense.
I would say this is going to be, I think, a game because you're looking at the practice reports this week, injury reports this week, and you potentially are without a couple of still dependable guy and one very good player, and Nico Collins. These young receivers, Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel, I see their potential. I see their
Nolan's
upside.
good.
But they're making mistakes. They're not in the right spot sometimes. They're dropping passes sometimes. CJ Stroud is not hitting them other times. This is a game where if you're Robert Saleh, I just don't think that you trust that their receivers I just don't think you respect their receivers. I think you send everything you've got at CJ Stroud, who I've got some pressure stats for him from last game. He was pressured on 31.5% of his dropbacks. He only had 55 yards on those plays, 4 for 14, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So that's a 28.6 completion percentage when under pressure. But when he was not pressured, he's also not, because there's just ghosts or something is going on. That offensive line is what it is, and the scheme is not good either. When he was 174 yards, 19 to 35, no touchdowns, no completions, or no interceptions, only throwing 5 yards per attempt on those when he's not pressured, and just a 54% completion percentage. And none of it's looking good. And you're seeing sort of the bad habits could start to set in, and we joke about ghosts with Sam Darnold, but this line is not giving him anything to work with. Neither is the play calling. Neither is the run game, because
So
they
bad.
look slow on the ground too.
They're just and think about that. Stroud got bailed out on that safety.
Oh, they got bailed
That
out a
was a
couple
safety,
times. Should have been
yeah.
a defensive touchdown. I mean, that's potentially against the best team, best defense in the NFL. Those numbers tell a story, though, to me,
Yeah.
because the fact that he was only pressured on 31%
Yeah.
of the passes and he's throwing so deep is they're not even trying to let plays develop, because
Exactly.
when you talk about the ghosts, it's just not having faith that the offense is going to work if you do throw the ball. And I
Yeah.
do think we are seeing a different CJ Stroud, unfortunately, because of all the free rushers. And sometimes it's set early in that
Yep.
game. I bet if we looked at the first 2 drives of the game, that pressure percentage was a lot higher, because there were free rushers
Yep.
everywhere the first quarter. And then after that, he's just kind of getting rid of the ball and hoping. And it's hard to blame him, but man, it's depressing that they are an underdog against a team without without Purdy, without Bosa, without
well, that team's
Warner,
got
and
Christian McCaffrey,
without
though.
everyone. That's true. You do have CMC. You do have Mac Jones winning now
George Kittle.
$100,000 every time he starts. Mac Jones. Oh, actually, we don't know that Mac Jones is starting. It's Wednesday as we're taping this, and it could be Brock Purdy returning, but I don't think they're in a hurry.
No.
And turf toe is troubling, and he can do enough at least. Maybe, I don't know. This is bound to be ugly.
Or
Yeah.
ugly just for one team, considering where things have gone. But hey, maybe Will Anderson can get in there and make 17 plays and get his Texans some.
Maybe to go full circle, we could say maybe Houston looks like a team we saw a couple years ago.
That would be good. And
It looks like
the 49ers did get the running game going for
Oh, yeah.
pretty much the first time all season last week against Atlanta, where it was consistent, success rate high. It is the Robert Saleh versus D'Amico Ryan
Ooh,
bowl. I kind of like that. Which one took the recipe in
But-
San Francisco and did better
But
with it.
D'Amico's not calling the defense right now.
Well,
but they do
it's
have
his defense.
they do have something in common. During their tenures as head coach, both of them didn't get to make all the decisions they would have liked to have been.
there
That's
you go.
fair.
There you
And,
go.
and keep
Working
an eye.
for
Derek Stingley not having a good year. Sometimes he's had more penalties this year than last 2 years combined. He's given up a lot of completions where he's in coverage, which you're just not used to seeing. In this matchup, unless Pierce. I mean, I don't know who's going to really bother him, but it has been interesting to see him not having as good a season. Let's take a quick break, and we're going to be back for another organizational rivalry game.
Man, no love for Kendrick Bourne.
The Bourne identity.
Back on NFL Daily, and yeah, I mentioned a revenge game. I don't think Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane are looking for revenge because Carolina helped set them up back in the day for success. And
imagine if they kept them both.
Right. At various points over the last 7 years, David Tepper should have been thinking, maybe I had the right guys in the building back then.
But there's a lot of guys who are the right guys for one organization, but they're in another organization and they're not quite the right.
Yeah, they would not be looking as good if they were with that team. You know who was looking better, Patrick, on Wednesday, surprisingly? Bryce Young doing cardio without a boot on at practice. Maybe these reports that he was missing this week were premature. If nothing else, it doesn't seem like a long-term injury.
Yeah, everybody's body's different. They're not machines. High ankle
we love
sprain,
all of them.
Could mean one thing for one person and something else for
I've never seen something reported as a high ankle sprain and someone moving the way that they had cameras on Bryce Young, how he was moving on Wednesday. I've never seen that.
But we allude to it.
He is light.
A couple of franchises where you think back, a generationally talented, large, mechanized quarterback with perhaps some underperforming aspects around him, spurning to long-term success. It's the Buffalo Bills and the Carolina Panthers in different eras as the. Maybe we look back, there were a lot of former Panthers when they both got there.
Oh, yeah.
Where things have fallen off since then. Those former Panthers have gone elsewhere.
Shaq Thompson on this Bills team.
Yeah.
How about that?
Shaq Thompson revenge game.
The Carolina Panthers, the Buffalo Bills, actually 7-point favorites. Who better to be on this call than Adam Amin and G-Reg for this particular matchup where, Steve, Bryce playing seems to be the main looming issue. But other than that, can the Buffalo Bills find somebody that could separate? Do they need to make a trade and go get somebody?
Oh, well, do they need to make a trade? I mean, they can find someone to help out the secondary. I mean, but every team needs, secondary help right now. And so I'm looking at, if Bryce Young doesn't play, Andy Dalton, they've got some running backs in Carolina who can do their thing. So if they could run the ball, and I think you can run the ball on Buffalo a little bit. I mean, this is a way to play keep away. The number's big. I get it. It's Buffalo. But Carolina's playing better defensively. I mean, that defensive line is starting to show some of the talent that's there. Dan Morgan. I don't know if some of that was there from Brandon Beane. I don't think so. I think some of Dan Morgan. But they're starting to come together a little bit. And so, again, I like Buffalo to win this game. I don't know if I love the number. But I don't know if it necessarily hinges on Bryce Young playing.
Yeah, there's two of the biggest mismatches of the entire weekend are in this game. Yeah. According to DVOA, the Bills have the worst rush defense in the entire NFL.
Yeah.
And the Panthers' running game has been excellent. They're top 6 or 7 on the season. And if you just looked at the last handful of weeks, it's even better than that. Then again, on the other side, Derek Brown's a great player, and he can rush the passer a little bit. But this is one of the worst pass rushes in the entire NFL in Carolina, and it's going up against a great offensive line. So
could it be because they got rid of all their pass rushers?
Right. Like when Josh Allen, I know his receivers haven't been separated, but when Josh Allen drops back to pass, he should have all day, and that is a dangerous scenario for this Panthers defense.
But their DBs are playing better in recent weeks, too. They're taking the ball away a little bit more. This
against terrible competition, it should be said.
Sure, but Buffalo's receivers aren't separating.
Right.
And Josh Allen, it's kind of like we're seeing this a little bit with less great offensive line, but with still similar kind of stakes as Justin Herbert, where it's like, okay, all of this resides now on Josh Allen, go do something cool, right? And that's what kind of the story has been, because yes, this Panthers two-headed running game, and not just their running game, but the way that they were deploying some of their screens, to me, you do that on purpose a little bit to get that tape into Buffalo's heads a little bit, because Buffalo is not defending not just the run game well, but also not defending second and third level stuff like those screen passes when they start to get rolling. And Chuba Hubbard was great on some of their screen design, could have picked up 10 more yards on that long one he pulled down the left sideline.
I understand not wanting to wait for the big guys to run.
You shouldn't wait. Yeah, you should not wait for your blocking. However, your blocking probably needs to layer more inside faster. The thing that he could have had a touchdown. The thing that's cool, though, is like, okay, from, being in Carolina for as long as I was, and then like, man, the last several years, this fan base, who I think will really show up for this game because they've got hope, and maybe more importantly than hope, they've got a freaking run game.
Yeah.
For the first time in a while, this fan base has been dying for a run game since the prime days of Jonathan Stewart
and D'Angelo Williams.
just rolling downhill on
There you
people.
go.
And this is just so fun to know that, like, okay, if you can't have hope, you got something better. You got a good run game behind a two-headed monster. And I know they want to know who the starter is. That's more fantasy football, whatever. But like, this is cool. This is potentially very, very cool and stabilizing if you're not really sure who your quarterback is going to be or what they're going to do.
Wow, the shadow of John Fox hovering.
I think because
As he ever does.
Chuba was great in the pass game, and I understand his utilization. But getting Rico the ball,
Thank you.
Against this Bills team, especially, like, I'm thinking about the way Xavier Legette has been playing with him and Tataroa out blocking. It's just a rough matchup for a Bills secondary that really gets like kind of exposed every single week. In terms of making plays on the ball carrier. I think Carolina should take, whether it's Andy or Bryce. Especially if it's Andy, getting the ball in Five's hands and letting him do work.
And Dalton, before that car accident last year, was playing solid football.
Yeah.
One of these years, this happens with these backup quarterbacks that we just assume are the same forever. At some point, he will turn into a lesser version of Andy Dalton, but frankly, we haven't really seen that. Like, he was solid last year. I know you're talking about
If you want to talk about seeing it, I think we're about to see it.
Okay.
Finish against the Jets.
maybe that ball's not coming out as crisp, but basing it on his 2024 tape, like he's now turned in, we used to do the Dalton scale on the show, which if you have a guy above that. Now I would say it's kind of the Dalton scale for backups. If you don't have a backup better than Andy Dalton, you need a new backup. But he is a good backup until proven otherwise. And yeah, I'm curious. We mentioned a lot on the show how coaches show their work after the bye. Sean McDermott's been excellent at that over the years, diagnosing what's wrong with the team. So I am curious to see what personnel changes, schematic changes, do they blitz more? Like, what sort of changes he does on his defense, leaning on, Deion Walker. They're going to have to. Daquan Jones, who's been solid for them, another former Panther, hurt his foot in practice on Monday, and sounds like he's going to be out for a few weeks, and he is a big contributor for them.
You talked about the line and evaluating quarterbacks. What about having to play against the Cleveland Browns in 2025, where they have been great on defense, the offense? They are at the New England Patriots. The Patriots and Drake May, who is all that matters, favored by 7 points. The over-under is 40.5. Chris Myers and Mark Schlereth on the call, hopefully with no audio issues for Chris Myers as he's been getting chased around by weird audio bugs for the past 3 weeks. Something I picked up on.
Wait, really?
Yeah, he sounded like he was calling the game from a tin can in 1955.
Oh, boy.
Last week for like a quarter and a half. Greg.
Yes.
How concerned are you about playing the Browns defense?
I am excited to watch it. I'm not playing them. I think it's nice because I'm trying to tell the Patriots fans in my life, like, I get it. And Drake May is all that matters.
Yeah.
So this season is beyond a huge success, no matter how it ends, as long as Drake May continues to show that he's that guy. And he has at a level that I don't think anyone could expect. But you cannot overstate how easy this schedule has been. Like, I do think, as I get older, I don't know what it is. I do think schedule really explains like more than we want to talk about with the NFL.
That's without a doubt.
And,
Who you play. Yeah.
Right. It really is on a week-to-week basis.
He hit us with the as I get older.
I just mean, though, like, no matter how much we think schedule matters.
Drake May
as
makes
my
Greg whimsical.
viewpoints mature.
As I continue on this existence on this rock.
a little scheduling serendipity.
I just mean, like, so much, like the Commanders, for instance. It's like, yeah, their schedule's harder this season. Like, so, like, a lot, like the AFC West, oh, they're coming back to the back. Like, it's like, yeah, the Chargers' schedule is harder this year. Like, so much is explained by that I don't think we can overrate it enough. And then this is a week where you get to find out how good that offensive line is. I have my doubts about the left side. Like, Gerard Wilson has been struggling a little bit, who's their left guard. So when the Patriots have the ball, like, it is as good a test as ever. And to my point, Aaron Schatz's numbers say the Patriots have the single easiest schedule in the NFL since 1979.
Wow.
And that's evaluating how the teams have looked through the first 7 games as well.
I mean, think about that for all the years where the AFC East was just absolute dog stuff. And this is the easiest schedule. Wow. This is an intriguing game to me because this is where I think having Josh McDaniels as your OC and the way he can change things up week to week with a different game plan, I think you're going to see a lot of quick passing game, and they're going to make guys chase. And we know that the Browns can chase, tackle on the open field, this and that, but some horizontal stuff to get them chasing early because, see if they can get them a little fatigued and then take some shots. I think we're going to see some of that action from the Patriots, and that's where Drake May's fine. If he doesn't turn the ball over, I don't see why they don't cover that 7 because Cleveland can't score.
This receiver group's been better than anyone expected.
Drake May's more than fine. I'm not talking to you, Greg, because I know you know all of these numbers because
I don't know.
You lay awake at night and scroll through next gen Drake May stats and tape. But Drake May has the highest downfield passer rating in the NFL right now. And so, yes, to your point, Steve, move them side to side a little bit at first and then start taking shots. Get some of the quick passing game going and then start just blowing the doors off of this defense or trying to. Now, he's going to have a challenge getting protection long enough for that, especially against Myles Garrett, because on the left side, that's Will Campbell. So now you're back in the game here, Greg. It's Will Campbell's side. Myles Garrett is getting a lot of quick pressure. Will Campbell is giving up the 9th most quick pressure in the league among left tackles right now.
Wow. I did not realize that.
Per next gen stats.
I'm doing Myles Garrett. I'm screening to death on him.
Yeah. Doop.
And just go ahead and do some slip screens.
Throw it far to the right.
It'd be nice if that was Travion Henderson in it, but something tells me it's actually going to be Ramondre and Terrell Jennings.
Yeah, Vrabel coming out just celebrating Terrell Jennings, hoisting up the Terrell Jennings poster. Despite it's like the preseason, I guess, just does not matter, and especially for those in the fantasy community. Like it's time. Maybe we should be a little more skeptical of the hope for Travion.
I believe
Mike Vrabel hates him.
That guy is so special. I believe.
On the other side, like it's a good test for the Patriots. Really built their defense around run defense, and they really do look like a pretty good run defense. And if you can stop Quinshon Judkins, who when he gets in the open field, like forget about it.
I had no idea he had the type of burst he has.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his balance and his strength is crazy, but look at this acceleration.
People making business decisions at points in the hole against Quinshon Judkins too, because he is so aggressive and
especially the Dolphins
delivers hits. But hell, like on that field in Dublin against the Vikings, I mean, I love him, and yet that was the highlight of Dylan Gabriel's 3-game career so far. Since then, my optimism about Dylan Gabriel has been dim. Now, last week was a little bit of a weather game, but like they had like 150 yards against the Dolphins late in the midway through the fourth quarter. He needs to improve.
I think.
And Shedeur is getting no starter
A very
reps this
mature
week.
take from a very mature.
He is very lucky not to have about 8 interceptions, and I think he has none or 1. But yeah,
there's a couple of ways to take all the Wildcat snaps from Quinshon Judkins. And one way is like, yay, Judkins, get the hands of the ball player. But also like maybe they're taking the hands out of another particular player. But when I see Quinshon Judkins, all I see is offensive genius from Chip Kelly.
There it is.
In terms of a football player.
And shout out to like these guys on the defense that like Alex Wright and Grant Delpit, like they're in, obviously Carson Schlesinger, who we've mentioned before, like
man, he's playing.
McGuire on the front, like they have guys who are just playing their hearts out, and that's not always easy with a bad offense like that.
Let's go over to another team that maybe has a chance to play their hearts out. It is the New York Jets going on the road to take on the now Joe Flacco-led Cincinnati Bengals, who are favored by 6.5 points.
Whoa.
The over-under is 44.5 as we get an opportunity, Jourdan, to see what Joe Flacco can do for the second consecutive week.
I started writing these notes before last week, actually, knowing that some of the deck was going to be stacked against me in terms of just workload and schedule. So the first thing, I forgot to delete it this week, the first thing I've written down in this game slot, depression. And it was until the Flacco bump.
Not anymore.
Until the Flacco bump hit Cincinnati. They have some hope. They have a little hope if they can just maintain. You rattled off some of their upcoming games, Cincinnati's upcoming games here in a previous show, Greg, in terms of like if they can just hold on, if they can get to 6 wins.
Got to get this one.
Yeah, by the time Joe Burrow gets back, this is obviously every game from here on out is a bit of a desperation game for the New York Jets. I don't really see them making changes at their coaching staff or front office or anything like that. Certainly at quarterback, where there's a little drama unfolding earlier this week, apparently from the owners' meetings.
Not apparently. I mean, that was very uncool. I mean, Woody Johnson coming out and taking a dump on Justin Fields, saying, if we can complete a pass, the rest of the team's getting better, but our quarterback is terrible.
Fields' response, though, on Wednesday was fascinating. You pointed out.
Yeah, I mean, he threw a fade at their media relations team. Like, I didn't see his response because I don't have social media. Nobody briefed me on the comments before I got up here. This is the New York media, man. You have to let them know what's coming.
Yeah.
But the crazier thing is that he said he doesn't know who's starting at quarterback, and he's splitting reps with Tyrod Taylor, and Tyrod might not be healthy. It sounds like he has a knee injury, and they consider him day to day. So if you want to,
what a disaster!
Specifically cite why making those type of comments aren't a great idea, like that could be your starting quarterback, Justin Fields, this week.
It's just so uncool. I mean, you paid the guy $30 million. You hired a coaching staff, which you hope can develop him, and you're gonna come out and you're just gonna deuce on him like that publicly. This is where you say, owners don't meddle. He meddled. Right now, Aaron Glenn is in a real tight spot. Like, I got to bench the guy because my owner came out and said that he sucks.
I think he was ready to bench him anyways.
Yeah, fine.
To be fair, but now he might not be able to.
Let him bench him.
Well, and also, in defense of the media relations folks, because we say it so many times with being able to make these decisions, a lot of people's job is to keep their job. And so, how aggressively do you want to tell Justin Fields about this, considering the ultimate boss who has no issue, terminating you or terminating the person above you, in that particular situation where everything's bad. Everything's bad.
Depression.
Yeah, like the run game is sneaky bad. Yeah. Like they're 25th or 26th in rushing efficiency right now.
Well, that's why we're saying Breece Hall's on the block.
Right.
Because, he can't get anything going.
And the quiet thing is the defense, if they could have just combined the defense has played well last week.
Yeah.
I mean, the last 2 weeks. They haven't given up more than 13 points in 2 straight games, but this will be a much bigger challenge. No Sauce Gardner, it sounds like, in this game. He's coming off a concussion. Garrett Wilson is very uncertain. So I think this is where you can absolutely crush Darren Muji and this front office for showing up to this season with a receiver group like this, because with Wilson out, like they have no chance.
Does Jamar Chase also get more than 23 targets? Why not?
Maybe.
Why not?
I think
as long as Joe Flacco can lift his arm above his head, throw the ball.
Well, I think the most important thing for Joe Flacco is being able to put both of his hands under center. And I can't believe that I didn't think about this initially because I was so skeptical of the idea. But they had, if you take out empty and shotgun snaps, Jake Browning just edged out Joe Burrow after starting more games in terms of being under center.
Yeah.
And already Joe Flacco has had more under center dropbacks than Jake Browning. And you could see the improvement generally in the offensive line. They were able to protect better. Chase Brown got loose. He had his longest carry of the season.
Game.
And then 7 plays later, he had his longest carry of the season once again. The football team seems to exist. The defense is better. Everything got improved.
Defense is not better. The defense is trash.
But they're not on the field as much,
Turner,
Greg.
the corner, is playing well. He's one of the bright spots on this Bengals defense, the corner who got demoted before the regular season began and then won his job back. He's playing really well.
He's playing great, but the defense is maybe the worst. I think it's the worst defense in the NFL, at least when Trey Hendricks is out of the field.
The Miami Dolphins.
Would like a word. The Dolphins like a word.
I love that point you made, Patrick, about being under center versus being in the gun or even in the pistol, which I love, but they don't really do that there. They do either mostly out of the gun. But when Jake Browning was playing well a couple years ago, Greg's glory days of his Jake Browning love where it first developed and blossomed, they were mixing it up a little bit like that. And then they moved him back in the gun the same way that they've had Joe Burrow, keeping so much of this offense that doesn't necessarily work for every style of quarterback and for every experience level of quarterback. Even the most experienced quarterback currently in football right now, who is playing for the Cincinnati Bengals or second most or whatever, I don't know how many years he's got on Aaron Rodgers, but he's even saying, I'd rather play under center. Why is it that this is the change they make for Joe Flacco, but you can't make life easier on your backup knowing you have some gotta-have-it games coming up? Why is any of this? I love seeing this offense click. I love seeing the receivers get the ball Joe Flacco playing football is just fun, right? But why is it taking this to change around what you're doing and make your offense a little bit easier on the quarterback? You know, I don't understand.
Maybe they're a staff that kind of likes the quarterback to dominate a little. You know, that's just like their their flow.
But
they're just like they're submissive. You know, different partners are different. Maybe
I
this
get
is
what you're
a
saying.
coaching staff that's just like kind of a submissive partner. Because Joe Flacco is the only reason
He came in and
like
said,
the offensive line looks better.
Put me under center.
Yeah.
For a soft landing spot.
Oh, I think he's just calling the plays out there.
getting the
Jamar
ick.
Chase is calling the plays. Thank you.
I'm getting the ick.
Speaking of the ick, what about the 2025 Miami Dolphins, who are taking their show once again on the road? Hopefully they get if there is rain, they'll close the roof at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, taking on the Atlanta Falcons, who are favored by 7 coming off the loss, Steve, 44.5, the over-under. The voice of God, Kevin Harlan, as well as Trent Green on the call. Are the Dolphins okay?
No, they're not. Okay.
What a question.
They're a disaster. You know, once Tua came out and said that, it was over. It was over. I mean, they may came out and compete, and that's why this is an intriguing game to me, because the Falcons' game plan offensively was terrible against the 49ers. And you talk about how you love the pistol. That's when the pistol gets you into trouble, when you're not creative, when you're not running Texas routes with your running back against a team that's without its starting linebacker, when you don't put any stress on your weaknesses. And you play right into sidelines, hash marks, and things to give them an extra defender. So they're going to have to be more creative in their short passing game, quick passing game against a terrible Dolphins defense. Atlanta's just one of these teams where it is a week to week. You can't get a feel of what they are. Defensively, they're a good football team. And that's why they're going to win this football game, because Dolphins offense is just non-existent. It's an absolute mess. But I'm interested to see if Atlanta should come out and put up the big numbers as they should offensively.
Darren Waller was Miami's best offensive player, and he's on injured reserve.
But on IR now.
Yeah, and I am mad at Atlanta. I'm mad at the Falcons because it is exactly what you said. They come out 2 weeks ago with an absolutely incredible game plan offensively that funnels the entire offense through one of the best football players on the planet right now, who can do everything, who did do everything in this game. And then just a few days later, they almost like put one hand behind his back, because they're not giving him, and they were aligned with him to the side as well. And yes, they still run a lot of pistol.
2 back with Algier.
They had 2 back. They did not give the same autonomy. They didn't attack the second level. Part of what I loved about when they ran so much out of the pistol 2 weeks ago was he was directly attacking the second level, whether you could see it obviously or not. Every single movement and shift that he's able to set up affects the middle of the defense, whether they're having to flow side to side or come and crash down. This was not the same stress points that they put, and they should have. And I don't want to take anything away from Tatum Bethune, who played awesome. Saw it well, read everything great, played it awesome. But Atlanta is not stressing defenses enough in enough types of ways, and that makes me annoyed, because they are better than this. And they know it, and they're not doing it.
I struggle with them, and I wonder if they're coaching around whatever Michael Penix's limitations are. And, you know, if you listen to Chris Collinsworth,
maybe not getting under center.
Right. If you listen to Collinsworth, it's thrown over the middle, and you know, he's such a good thrower to the perimeter, and that's a great skill to have. But it doesn't really show up when you look at this team. The baseline for Penix this year has been a little lower than I would have expected in the passing game. Like, they are a team where their quarterback holds onto the ball quite a bit, but they don't push the ball down the field, which to me it's a frustrating combination to watch. For whatever reason that's happening, that's what the numbers tell you, that he's holding onto the ball a lot, and it's not like they are a bombs away deep type of offense.
Well, I think one of the questions that we had last year was about play action, and we thought it was related to the health of Kirk Cousins. What did J.J. McCarthy, Cooper Rush, Jake Browning, Marcus Mariota, I could go on and on, have in common? Their completion percentage with play action is better than Michael Penix Jr. They're actively not running a whole lot of play action passes, and when they do, they're not successful. And some folks have pointed directly that they've obviously pointed, oddly enough, at the pistol.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it.
That's a knock on the pistol scheme.
That's part of the reason why, because that's part of the reason why you run it so much, because it gives the illusion, and now it it's not doing that for them. Let me be
No.
clear. But in theory, and it did this for the Rams a couple years ago, when the quarterback didn't want to be turning his back to the defense so much and wanted to see everything in front of him, it gives the illusion that you still could get the play action game out of that, even though you're in sort of a more gun look. That's the thing. You still are trying to keep the run fakes available to you, but just moved backwards out of the stack of offensive linemen so that the quarterback can see everything in front of him, which then should lead to a deeper downfield passing game, but is not in this case. So all of these things that we're talking about are very much connected here, and it's all of them not working the way that they should in theory or in execution is what the Falcons.
But here's it. Sometimes they do. That's the thing. They're hot and cold. Sometimes they look brilliant. Sometimes they look terrible. Take a page out of the Bengals book, what they did with Joe Flacco. I mean, no bull stuff here. They must have thrown 80% of their passes were slants. When you're playing a team that is struggling in the middle and you've got those receivers you have, especially two big-bodied guys, slant them to death.
Mm-hmm.
I low them, do whatever.
Like my number one test of, do you have an effective quarterback? Like, are you going to have a long career as a quarterback, first of all? And are you have a good passing game? Which is like, are you good, like you mentioned before, when you're not pressured? Because almost any NFL quarterback can be good if he's not pressured. And Penix does have some of the worst numbers this year when not pressured, which does point back a little bit to scheme because I don't think it's personnel. No, I know they don't have a right tackle, but overall their pass protection is fine. Like it's in the middle. It's absolutely fine. On the flip side, Mike McDaniel, like there's many cries for help that he's had. The fact that he said publicly that they played hard, but they're not playing hard executing his assignments is the most insane quote I've maybe ever heard from a coach in terms of just like, I'm done. Yeah. They don't listen to me. And you see that in the running game more than anything. They are 31st in the league in success rates. The missed assignments, what you see from the offensive line, is crazy. And that was supposed to be Mike McDaniel's thing. Like
run game coordinator.
Devon Achane pushes back at your best offensive player. So does Jalen Waddle. Is Darren Waller. Like, because Devon Achane looks awesome this year. And Jalen Waddle's like a good player, but like they can't figure out their running game at all. It is brutal to watch.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? You know what's not brutal?
What's that?
Breaking it up between the early games and the late games. That's it for the early games.
Okay.
It's a pretty light early slate. 7 games early. We're going to talk about the late games and a really spicy Sunday night football game in our next one. So just go right over to that show. Welcome to NFL Daily, where we're never quite done talking about the Dolphins and the Falcons. If you happen to listen to our preview
You should.
of the early slate of games, it was such a good back and forth. These ball heads, I don't know, ball knowers, football heads, they just, phrasing, they just kept talking about Dolphins, Falcons, and how many intriguing angles. And that's just how much we love ball. You know how much we love it?
How much, Greg?
We're actually going to go back and talk about the Dolphins again because let's just say it, I'm the host of this show. And I wanted to get this Quinn Ewers throw from last week's game as an official nominee for Throw of the Year because sometimes in your life, you're watching late into the fourth quarter of a Browns Dolphins 31-6 game, and you're questioning, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah, call the hotline.
In the middle of the week. And then Quinn Ewers steps up while he's getting absolutely leveled and throws the ball 50 yards down the field on a dime, and D. Eskridge makes an incredible catch on the sideline, and you think, I don't care who the names are. I don't care about the situation. That's a Throw of the Year nominee, Quinn Ewers.
I was so skeptical when you brought it up, Greg.
Put it on again. If you're watching on YouTube, it's there.
I support this nomination.
Absolutely.
I can't lie.
Yeah, it's solid.
It was a totally preposterous throw. Like, he is getting absolutely hammered.
I mean, the protection on the blitz was horrible. It just a beautiful. Watch this.
Look at 5.
Oh, you're not going to. I'm going to forklift. He just forklifted my guy. Ran right through.
And that's Dwayne, a.k.a. D. Estridge, who's, just trying to hang on to his NFL career, making a nice contested catch.
I mean, the jersey numbers,
Yeah, that's
everything.
not a D catch. That's a Dwayne catch right there.
Other than his helmet not getting turned around, is that not the Ryan Fitzpatrick no-look completion?
It's very
from
similar.
years ago?
There it is
Oh
in the
my
number.
God.
It's very similar. Maybe even a few extra air yards on that. We'll have to get next-gen stats
I just want to
on.
know what the game,
Grown man
the
catch.
film room and the offensive line when that left guard, because he got forklifted and dumped in a hat.
I think that was our friend Savanea.
Yeah, he's had a rough season.
Yes.
I mean, they've had a lot of rough seasons.
I mean, that's ooh.
Okay.
That's how much we love ball, baby. We're,
Yeah,
we're
bad
deep into
tape right
talking
there. That's
about the
bad tape.
Miami Dolphins as we bid farewell to our early games and go ahead to almost as late as you can get. Some Monday Night Football, Washington
Yeah.
at Kansas City, where, oh my goodness, Greg, the Commanders dealing with some injuries, not going to have Jaden Daniels in this one. And do you remember the time when we were concerned about the Kansas City Chiefs? They have the perfect weekend. The rest of the division loses, including a team that they blew out. They're now favored by 10.5. They got Rashee Rice. They got Joe and Troy on the call, 47.5. The over-under, it's the Chiefs are going back to the Super Bowl, Greg.
I would pick them if I have to pick a team. And I'm surprised. I know power rankings are what they are. They're just opinions, but I mean, they would be my number one on the power ranking. If you're not just judging off, if you're judging off record alone, then what's the point of a power ranking? I'm just saying I saw a few and they're not not in the top 5 or not in the top 10. It's like they would be my number one.
Name and shame.
I'm not going to do that.
Oh.
I'm not going to do that. Because either we work with them.
Yeah, no, I was going
Or
to
their
say, now everybody's wondering.
Yeah, or their friends.
No, I don't know. Eric
wouldn't do
Ed
that.
Holmes. I wouldn't do that to
I just-
Eric. I don't know his right now.
I just really appreciate the mental picture of just Greg, just 7 screens open all around him. A different power rankings is up on every single screen.
Oh,
He's taking notes furiously.
Not
when
at
yours
all.
Throw
It's
is
like
on
Tom
in the
Cruise in
background.
Minority Report.
Yeah.
Moving screens around.
It was not at
They
all.
detonate. They self-destruct when he's done.
I'm told reliably, Ed Holmes got him at 3, so that's respectable. I think
Still not one.
now I remember I was at the huddle about 30 minutes before we started taping on Blue Sky, and I believe I saw the Pro Football Talk power rankings underrate the Kansas City Chiefs severely. So you asked for names, I had to make sure
Get him, Greg.
I got it right. The Commanders are massive underdogs in this game, but they will be getting Deebo Samuel and Terry McLaurin back, according to Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn also said at this point last week, though, that he thought Terry McLaurin was going to be back. So you just never know how these injuries are going to heal, but he does say they will practice fully. That gives them a chance on offense because Mariota did not look good last week when he came in, but his other starts this year, he has run the offense well. If anything, I think there's been more issues with that Commanders defense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's been the defense. I mean, and Jourdan pointed this out last week. They're having to do some things with Frankie Louvu to compensate. So he's playing more on the edge, and the middle of their defense is getting tagged. It's really weird seeing Louvu, teams okay, he's over here on the right side of the defense. We're just going to go away from him.
Yeah.
We're going to pin Bobby Wagner or pin whomever back, and that's that. Now they're without Dorrance Armstrong as well, who's had a pretty good season. That is my concern with the way Kansas City is playing, the way that they can take advantage of the middle of the defense with the tight end, because Washington really doesn't have a matchup with the tight end. Now they can go deep and just Mahomes on the move.
Yeah.
The way he can fluster some of the defensive structures Washington's playing, it's going to be tough sledding.
I'm almost more surprised to see the Commanders play the game plan that they played against the Cowboys versus what they might
Great
have to do
point.
this week, because Louvu, listen, I know Dak can run when he does, he could pick up some yards and all this stuff, but it's not scrambling like Patrick Mahomes can scramble and make magic happen. And what they were doing with Frankie Louvu was really almost like spying him in certain ways against Dak Prescott. And he was just basically, they were taking away their own mathematical advantage by doing that some of the time, because Dak sees him and he just doesn't care. He's like, okay, you're over on that side of the field, sort of like hovering in the nether region here in the flat. And so this is just like, so we can dictate all of our other stuff just kind of away from where you are. And now they only have 10 guys against our skills. And that's where I think it was odd. And then there was a Javonte Williams run last week that showed me exactly how teams are going to try to take away Bobby Wagner if they have a patient enough runner. I don't know if Pacheco is a quote unquote patient enough runner, but he can make things happen, where Javonte Williams saw everyone crashing down into the middle. He waited a half second, and then he bounced.
He bounced it, yeah.
And he bounced into a new lane, and Bobby Wagner, who is a sure tackler, great run defender, was absolutely crushed into his own blocking in front of him and was not in the right place. And this is what you can do this mathematically over and over and over again.
The Bears did the same thing at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Same thing.
I'm concerned about, and they're older in spots and they look slower, and it's like not for a lack of effort that Marshawn Lattimore had just like a miserable day against George Pickens. Now, this is not the same thing, but it's a lot of speed coming at this Washington Commanders defense. And you guys know, I love this Commanders team. I have so much optimism for them for the short term and the long term future. They're well coached. They scheme well. They've got the quarterback of the present and the future, although he's injured right now. But I just think this is when we really start. This defense outplayed its roster last year a little bit. And even though they struggled at times, now you're starting to see the real problems with building a team like this.
I do think the matchup, at least for Marshawn Lattimore, who was in a situation where you like to hand fight,
Yeah.
George Pickens, famously Mike Evans, like there's situations where the hand fighting can be a detriment.
He'll bite you.
Right. Where I feel a little more confident, oddly enough, considering the speed mismatch with Marshawn Lattimore. Playing, up close and tight coverage with guys like Worthy or maybe Rice if they decide to send him deep, maybe Hollywood Brown, where it gets a little bit better. But losing Dorrance Armstrong, where he has 25 pressures this season, that's 9 more than any other Commanders defender. And like you're not getting to Mahomes. Like Rashee Rice only ran 16 routes last week and he got 10 targets.
That was a clear point that they were going to throw the ball.
So like they were just picking and choosing what they got to do against the Raiders, who might not be a real football team. So we get a chance to see what it really looks like with Rice back this.
Speaking of hand fighting though, Juju.
I mean, Juju's like wide receiver 6.
That was the Brian Branch.
Yeah.
Oh, happy birthday to Brian Branch, by the way, who's celebrating a birthday today.
I was still on trying to come up with a Chip Kelly joke.
That was a good Juju. And the Chiefs defense got as close to a bye as you can possibly have. Looking at the snap numbers, well, this is true.
It's true.
Chris Jones had 22 snaps. That led the defensive lineman. Like Karlaftis had 18. Like they essentially played like a first quarter of a game against the Raiders. So they're rested. They're ready to go. You know who's happy? That Rashee Rice and Worthy and Hollywood Brown are playing now the second game ever together. And this isn't, by the way, like rookie Rice or rookie Worthy. They're better versions of those guys. Travis Kelce, like, He's suddenly just frolicking, right? Like that, you don't have to worry about him. And I actually think like Tyquan Thornton delivering early in this season was like a big foundational piece for this offense. For instance, the Commanders have given up more than 50 plus plays than any team in the league, and the Chiefs are one of the most explosive teams in the league now. Like you have to cover him. Like, you mentioned, they're not totally benching Tyquan Thornton, so. Like, he's not maybe going to have a huge volume number, but it's like you have to worry about Tyquan Thornton while you're worrying about everything else.
He's in the MVS hope he drops it role, where it's like, all right, we're going to cover these guys up, and maybe he'll put that one on the turf.
They need to get back. If they could win this game, it'll be that their run game and Bill and everything gets back a little bit.
Well, getting
for
Debo,
the Commanders.
Having Debo McLaurin back. I was at the game against the Raiders when Marcus started that game, and he's so comfortable getting the ball to Debo and Terry McLaurin. That'll help.
Yeah, and I think back to Marcus Mariota catching his own touchdown pass against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Good call.
In a bygone era.
Back in the Arthur Smith OC days.
You're on it with all the parallels, Patrick.
Those were back in the Mariota Winston wars of like 2015 to 18.
Makes me think of that.
We try not to talk about those. It was like a tough time for a lot of people.
Greg sent me a clip of us from NFL Network Up to the Minute talking about the Titans, the exotic smash mouth Titans.
Yes.
A young Greg. And
we looked so young.
Even younger Patrick. Back in the day.
If I had only known then.
Up to the Minute.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
Another ghost of a show.
Great property.
Greg May wasn't even in Greg's life yet.
He was like in middle school.
A great game opportunity where it's a force versus object game. The Dallas Cowboys on the road taking on the Denver Broncos, who were really good in the fourth quarter last week. We'll forget the first 3. The Broncos favor Jourdan by 3.5. The over-under is 50.5. You know CBS loves it because it's Jim and Tony on the call. The quantum superposition that is the 2025 Broncos. Which one shows up against Dak and company?
This has game of the week potential to me, actually. I really think that. I don't think we saw anything to sway any sort of opinion on Bo Nix from this last game, honestly, better or worse. He just is playing the way he's playing right now. Now, I did see improvement from the Dallas Cowboys on defense, and I think they're starting to play a little bit more what have we got to lose mode, and a little bit, I want to say desperation ball a little bit, because they were wasting such a significant and extraordinary season by Dak Prescott. That last week looked more like a full complementary team than we have seen the Cowboys look all year this year, and they are so fun on offense. And I think that that's why this has such big game potential, because it's Broncos games this year. Something weird always happens, very much so last week, but weird stuff has happened in so many of these games. And Sean Payton is like wanting to kind of just keep rolling and kind of keep like trying to be in his bag and all these things and capture that feeling that they all had at the end of last game and certainly in that fourth quarter. And Dallas is like really, really good vibes with CeeDee and George Pickens back against these two corners in Denver. I love this game. Actually, I want this game if you'll allow me to.
I'm not sure what the assignment deals are. Sometimes Shook has already been assigned a game for his writing, so that all plays into it. It's very complicated. I love the number.
Seem that complicated.
Because he already was assigned it. If he's got this
That's what I'm
game,
saying.
you don't got it. Otherwise,
it's pretty simple.
Yeah, we got. Also, maybe Patrick really wants it. What if he fights you for it?
I fight for this podcast.
You're too nice. Patrick's too nice. He just allows whatever to happen.
You weren't briefed for that possibility, right? You got Justin Fields.
Folks want it. Yeah, I'm gonna end up watching Justin Fields play like somehow. I would love a Nathan Peterman game. Maybe.
He always is just on some practice squad. You're just like, really, Peterman still? I love the number in this game going over 50.5 because the Broncos defense is a little overrated. Let's be like, I don't think that's a hot take.
Nick Bonito is listening.
Let's clip it off.
No, let's not. Okay.
The fear every time we say.
Sorry, Nick.
Ominous respect. That's like me and Kyle Shanahan. Ominous respect.
They've played 3 games this year where they gave up at least 25 first downs. They were pretty well dominated by the Colts offensively, which is a great offense, but you don't expect, the Giants to put up 26 first downs, almost 400 yards on your defense and call you like a dominant defense. I think that got a little lost in that game that, they had no real answers in terms of their pass rush, and they were going up against a good offensive line. The Cowboys maybe aren't as good. All I'm saying is if you're going up against maybe the most balanced offense in the league, I don't think they're going to, maybe they make a few big plays, but I don't think they're going to keep this score down. I think it's going to be a fun score fest back and forth.
Well, I mean, Dallas is going to put points up. Jourdan just mentioned it. CeeDee Lamb, I love the fact, and people finally starting to talk about it more, his crossing route ability, just catching it and going. He is
no fear.
His yak, he's such a fun player, but we also know those safeties for the Broncos will knock your teeth loose. And so, that's interesting. Remember, Denver, once again, is not going to have Dre Greenlaw.
Suspended for this game
for going after an official. So we'll see how this defense shakes out. I think Denver's offense, though, Bo Nix, if he can figure out how to play in the first half, I don't understand why they don't move him more.
Well,
when he is on the move and he's pressing the line of scrimmage and putting the defender in conflict.
I think I know why.
Like right here, look, they're putting the defender in conflict. That's a tip ball, but
I think I know why. And actually, I have a theory about this. I don't know that it's not based in any fact. It's more observational and psychological. But there's been early in the season, there were a couple games where they booted him out and they rolled him out, and then he went on the move. He held the ball forever. You could hear internally his mind screaming at him saying, throw it now, throw it now, throw it now. Missed Courtland Sutton on a big potential touchdown and then missed him again, booting to the other side, rolling out to the other side. And I think that's a Sean Payton thing. If you do this and you like, fine, you don't get any play action. Fine, you don't get any bootlegs.
You're no Taysom Hill.
I'm withholding bootlegs from you as a punishment until you've earned them again. Like that's kind of, it's very psychologically farcical, but there might be something to it.
They got so predictable with the short stuff though last week that I thought that was one of Bo Nix's better games overall. The biggest problem they had was he had like 6 or 7 passes batted at the line of scrimmage because the Giants knew all week all they're doing are these screens and these bubbles and just everything is just short. And they were just like, don't even bother and just knock it down. And they just kept knocking it down. It kept killing drives over and over.
It was, to Jordan's point, like maybe it is frustration where
Coaches
Coach
don't
Payton,
play running backs for less.
like takes the ball out of his quarterback's hands weirdly for the majority of the game, and then like in those last couple of drives, you see Bo trust Marvin Mims down the sideline.
Yeah.
Trust Cortland Sutton down the sideline on throws where earlier in the season he's trying to put the ball in the absolute perfect place and flash the cannon and miss them deep. He left the throw to Marvin Mims like 4 yards short, and Mims just went up and made that play in a gotta have it moment. And I think that you can do that. You can test this particular secondary, but with them playing more man, it's like, which version is this? Is this the Jadeveon Clowney getting 3 pressures and a sack, and we're getting great cutaways of Matt Eberflus on the sideline?
They're going to get destroyed.
They can't play man against this group of receivers. They could
or
last
against
week.
this offensive line either. And they're not going to have Trevon Diggs. It sounds like he had a concussion, some sort of accident at his home, and he is not at practice on Wednesday. Also, the Javonte Williams. I mean, it's a revenge game, right?
Is this?
I was wondering who was going to drop that.
A little bit.
I'm shocked that Greg beat me to it.
I know you've been on them the entire. Yeah.
Sean Payton pointed out, I don't know what his parameters were here, but he cited a statistic that teams are 2-17 after having some sort of big comeback in the fourth quarter of the week before. I don't know what the parameters were. I'm a little skeptical of this stat, but
We
that's
should be skeptical of all of those.
Yeah, so he was just saying that there's a natural letdown.
Is he
effect.
trying to psych out the gamblers?
Sean Analytics
Yeah,
He
what?
was just saying like don't get too high, I guess. Man, I love this game.
in Denver.
I don't know who I'm going to pick. Hey.
What about the Russell Wilson shade? That was nice, though. That's
I wanted to
pretty
know-
strong clapback, by the way.
Yeah, he broke character
Yes, he did.
in a good way. I loved it.
I like the theories that people had that Ciara wrote it for him.
Ooh,
You know what?
I love
That's
it.
That's a legit
Iconic
theory.
in every way. If so,
Let's ride.
Lots
Let's
of
ride.
theories out there. Sunday Night Football. The Green Bay Packers
Mhm.
are 3-point favorites at the Pittsburgh Steelers, who got TNF'd last week by Joe Flacco. The over-under is 45.5. It's Sunday Night Football, so it's Mike and Chris. Shout out to Italy Steve on the call. The Packers. Can they finish a team that they're better than this year in 2025?
Woo! It's a good one.
Big week for the Italian American.
Yeah, right?
NBA on NBC with Tarico
Yeah.
was great.
That was
and
big.
Now he is here.
Stallion. It's going to be in Pittsburgh. This is an intriguing matchup to me because Green Bay's offense, Josh Jacobs, just continues. I love him. He's just one of my favorite players. Every week he's got some type of sickness, whatever, and just goes out and does it, puts the team on his back when he has to. And this is one with Green Bay's receiver speed where you can see Jalen Ramsey gambling because he's starting to play. He's starting to play some football. Like Jalen's starting.
Not last week.
he got
He got cooked a couple times last week, but he's made some plays too. But this is one where I think the speed of the wide receivers for Green Bay might be the difference in this.
mhm.
I could see that. And I thought the Steelers coaching staff was a big reason they lost that game. Like Joe Flacco knew it was happening before it happened because it's the same stuff that's been happening. For some reason, they thought, hey, Darius Slay and Jalen Ramsey, go to work. Like, even after the first half of that game, they came out in the second half and they're like, hey, go to work, guys. It's like, that's not who Jalen Ramsey is anymore.
But look, go back to last year when these teams played, the 44-38 shootout that Pittsburgh ended up winning because Russ, I think, threw 4 or 5 touchdowns. But Cincinnati knows how to play offensively against Pittsburgh.
That's fair. And so this week is different with Green Bay. And, we don't get into the narratives too heavily sometimes.
I
on
love
the show,
this one though.
but it is pretty amazing. It's
Yes.
I think one of the 10 greatest quarterbacks that's ever played this game. At his highest level, he still probably would be my pick as like at his very peak until Mahomes. Like, I think Mahomes has an argument. He's the best quarterback I've ever seen at his very peak, Aaron Rodgers. Playing against the team that he was with for 18 years, and if nothing else, that man is petty and has got to have some salty feelings about how it ended and everything. And I love it because he's playing as well as you could have possibly expected. Better than I expected coming into the year, showing a little more confidence in his mobility and willingness to stand in just a little bit more. It's not like his numbers against pressure are great, but I think he's liking what his offensive line is doing for him. And you feel like he might have something here where if it's a high scoring game I can imagine it going back and forth like he did with Flacco last week.
This game, I know this sounds kind of crazy, but a game like this with the personalities involved, with as veteran and tenured of coaches on either sideline who know each other so well, going back decades of coaching, not just as head coaches, with this quarterback who at one point when Matt LaFleur took over in Green Bay, sat on a call on a Zoom call with Matt LaFleur and some of the assistant coaches for hours and days, sifting through every single line in the existing playbook and also in Matt LaFleur's playbook that he brought over from Tennessee and from Los Angeles, and picking and choosing what plays they were going to run together, what plays they were going to try to tweak to do more of what Aaron wanted, what plays they were going to try to tweak to do more of what Matt wanted, and basically laying it all out on the table and going in grouping by grouping, personnel by personnel, play by play. And that type of meticulousness and type A from both of these people, this is going to be a game where we're going to see some cool Easter eggs. If we know what we're looking for, if we're going to try to look for some of these things, this is a guy who plays and sends a message with how he plays and the types of things he does, all the gestures, the hand gestures he makes, and all of the talking back and forth depending on the situation, the scenario, and the looking to the sideline and the gesturing, but also the types of plays. And Matt LaFleur is the same exact way. He's what I would call a heart on the sleeve play caller, where they're showing you, Greg's talked about it a lot with the game script, but they're showing you exactly what they think of you and what they think and what they want. The subliminal message they know that the football people on the other side will pick up, not necessarily the viewer. This game is going to be full of them. I cannot wait. I love this game.
Look at the edge rushers in this game. That's another storyline in this too. You know, you got Highsmith and JJ on one side, then you got Rashawn Gary and that other guy, from Dallas.
He's okay.
Who just is absolutely just playing at another level right now.
Who may now take away one of the top Steelers threats, which is oddly enough Darnell Washington.
How about that?
Who may have to stay in and help on both of those guys, where he's also been good. And I think it kind of takes away, because of the late stage Rodgers dictating to wide receivers and making the lines. If you take those guys off the field because you got so many tight ends, then you can't necessarily do all of those things. And it kind of gets like late stage Rodgers right exactly where Arthur Smith would like him to be, just by purely changing the personnel on the field. We saw 3 tight ends
get
touchdowns.
Darnell Washington too, though, man.
And he's like hand signaling to Darnell, who was lined up out wide where it looks like the Green Giant, like standing on some soup can out there. They didn't link up there. But they target the wide receivers at one of the lowest rates of the NFL. And I think about how good the coverage has been in the secondary for Green Bay, like Keshawn Nixon and all those guys, where like maybe they're in run support this week.
Yeah, it's going to be a test for the Packers offensive line, which overall looked better last week. They are healthier. Did we just have a small earthquake, or am I crazy? No, it's probably just...
I moved my chair.
That's probably it.
We're starting to watch.
We're just always on alert. They looked better last week, but this is a different pass rush. The problem is, will Mike Tomlin even have the best pass rusher on the team on the field? It was a little insane last week. At the end of that game, it's they're still in man coverage, and Nick Herbig's the best pass rusher is literally not on the field. And that's why I think the Packers are going to win this game. I think they've been really close to putting together more of a complete performance. If they can pressure Jordan Love, that is the recipe. He hasn't been great against pressure this year, but I like the coaching matchup for Matt LaFleur over this Steelers defense, and for them to put up a big number and challenge Aaron Rodgers to match up. I mean, I was thinking of making this my survivor pick.
Listen, I know there's a ton of respect. Woo. I know there's a ton of respect. And everyone's gonna say the right things. But how delicious for Matt LaFleur if he can dial up these explosive plays like the Steelers are giving up in big fistfuls and bunches here lately. You can dial up these explosives, and the quarterback on the other sideline, his former quarterback and collaborator, is helpless to do anything about it.
Here's something to add to that, into dialing up plays. Of all the tight end talk we're talking about for Pittsburgh, Tucker Kraft, when you talk to defensive coordinators around the NFL, they will tell you every game he scares them more than anyone on their team, because he's huge, he can run, he can block. He's like a bigger George Kittle. And the way these defensive coordinators talk about him, it's like, that's the guy we don't have an answer for. And you're seeing it show up week after week.
Yeah, some of the numbers are surprising that the Packers have created the smallest separation in terms of their receivers of almost
crazy with all the
any
speed
team in
they
the
have.
league, which is surprising, especially having watching, how it looked last week. I thought LaFleur had a really good game, but Tucker Kraft is the guy you worry about. Shout out to Jalen Warren, by the way. I do want to ask before we take a break whether, Patrick, you're ready to take the L on years long of hate of Jalen Warren. Because that man is making someone miss every time he's got the ball.
Yeah. Shout out to Jalen Warren on making that guy miss. I'm sure the home runs are eventually going to
He's not a big home run hitter, but this season, I feel like if you look at his missed tackle rate and everything, it's there with the best running backs in the league.
All right.
I'm just saying.
Not taking the bait.
Like the Mariota Winston wars of 2015, the Jalen Warren Najee Harris wars.
All right.
Still continue.
Maybe Greg and I are going to take a long-term Kenny G Jalen Warren prop here.
Okay, let's do it. Let's come back and we will wrap up these late games in just a few minutes.
Heavy eye contact.
He's been playing well.
Okay.
Been playing great.
Oh, Greg loves Jalen Warren.
Back on NFL Daily. One of the biggest mismatch of the season is Titans-Colts coming up. And you just mentioned poor Mike McCoy. It got me thinking. I have a question for you, Steve, that I don't know the answer to. What kind of pay bump do you get when you get the interim head coaching situation? Is that a negotiation? How does that?
No. It's a
how does it work?
negotiation. It's probably different in Tennessee than it would be for like the Rams.
Okay.
But it's a bump. I mean, now depending, let's just say Mike McCoy. I don't know what he's making. Let's say he's making $400,000 or $500,000.
Okay.
Right, as the OC, he's probably going to double that.
And he was, I think,
especially at the point of the season where
technically he was like either a position coach or a senior offensive consultant. He wasn't even quarterbacks. He was not the OC technically before.
Yeah, and most teams don't take a coordinator out of position because they need that person to call the plays and whatnot. But no, he's probably going to get to double the bump, I would think.
It's like Daddy's buying better Christmas presents this year out of nowhere. Just a little found money for Mike McCoy.
If it's not already in the contract you sign at the start of your tenure, it has to be renegotiated by the agent. And sometimes that leads to different decisions being made by teams as to who is going to actually be their interim head coach. And it is wild. It is wild.
Maybe that's how Joe Vitt got 2 different interim head coaching jobs in his storied career.
Oh, that's not how he got one of them.
That's a rough one. If you don't get the job because of your agent, who's allegedly there to get you more money, but he doesn't get you a job purely because of the person that they are. That's a rough one.
You got to know the owner.
Ooh.
One of my favorite Patrick rivalries is Patrick's versus all agents, and I support you in this. Also.
Thank you, Greg.
Yes,
thank you. And
they're back.
Yeah, my apologies.
Remember Jalen Warren?
Yes. Well, I'd much rather have this discussion because I might be wrong on Jalen Warren. Sorry, Drew. We're going too long. The Tennessee Titans at the Indianapolis Colts, who are favored by 14 points. Gregg Rosenthal, the over-under is 47.5. The folks and we agree that most of those will be scored by the Indianapolis Colts. The best offensive football. Andrew Catalon, Charles Davis, the best person in the world, Jason McCourty on the call. The coach firing bump came for like a quarter, maybe. Do they get more of it against the Colts?
I hope so. It actually did look like they played at a faster tempo. They're talking about practicing at a faster tempo, some more deep over type of routes that Cam Ward looks good on. Those first 2 drives, he looked great. So they get rid of Tyler Lockett. He asked to be released, but he was essentially benched for Chimere Dike. I do like that they tried to make some changes. Ultimately, it's a personnel thing that their 2 tackles, J.C. Latham and Dan Moore, which they have a lot invested in, really struggled in that game last week and have really struggled in general. And there's only so much you can do schematically, I think, to fix the personnel problems they have.
I know, exactly. And I know this sounds kind of crazy, but at this point, the season is sort of just like it's sunk, right? And they've got to hire a new coaching staff. So right now, the most important thing that Mike McCoy can do, along with that front office, collectively, whoever's making decisions for real, can sit there and say, okay, can we win with X player in Y type of way? Can we win with Y player in X type of way? Mix things up a lot. I will have no surprise at all to see them mix things up quite a bit over the remaining stretch of the season because they're trying to figure out who to keep and who to let go of. Because if you fire the head coach like this and you make it clear that it's roster oriented and there wasn't enough improvement, all the things that they said, you have to figure out, okay, if you can play in this type of way that we might go this direction for a coach, okay, then let's see who sticks with this, who fits, and what we might need to do. This is like, I know it sounds like sad, right? But that's exactly what a good organization would do right now is to see try a bunch of different types of things and see who excels in certain concepts that you think you might be gravitating toward for the future of your team, and figure out who you're getting rid of and who you're keeping.
Well, and this is also about the development of Cam Ward. Look, they just went through this with Will Levis. I mean, the fact that they're going through this again on such a short calendar and trying to develop your quarterback to see if he's the guy, it's organizationally
they went
red
through
flag.
a lot with Will Levis.
Right, but I'm just saying that is a red flag.
I mean, Will Levis is looking like a genius for kind of opting out of this season.
Yeah.
Well, he broke his shoulder or
Well,
whatever.
that's fair. They thought he was going to fight through it or something.
Yeah,
He was like, sorry.
Deadlift bar crushed him, bro.
Until it was right here. But I'm more interested in the Colts because you talk to a lot of teams. How do we fare when there's expectations?
Mm-hmm.
There were no expectations of the Colts now, and they came out and they looked really strong against the Chargers, running the ball in a highly competitive game. This is a game, 14 points, right? A 14-point favorite. How do they fare in terms of keeping their focus against a division opponent who they should run off the field?
And they did once. This is a rematch. They put up a 40-burger on the
Right.
Titans. It was 34-13, like until late in that game. So they've passed every test like that.
I love
They
this
just seem to
Colts team.
love playing football together.
They look fun, man.
And we talked about them at length on the show with Colleen Wolfe on Tuesday. I just love like the Bordolini center, Quentin Nelson combination. Like they look really smart self-scouting that they waved goodbye to Will Fries and Ryan Kelly with their replacements there.
Yeah, everything is working. And also 10 targets for Alec Pierce.
There it is.
Against the Chargers.
They were all
Hey.
deep shots, too.
Yeah, including
Your guy.
shout out to the film watchers on YouTube and TikTok pointing out that they saw on tape the Dolphins putting the cover 3 defender in conflict, and so they went right at him with Alec Pierce and hit a huge home run,
Yes.
which is just makes everything better. Just get more balls. Alec Pierce doesn't lead the NFL in yards per catch anymore because they're throwing in the ball more. Now it's Tyquan Thornton.
I also want to point out that on the screen as you're watching some of these Colts Chargers highlights, that touchdown pass that Daniel Jones threw to Tyler Warren looked a lot like a no-look pass to me.
Ooh.
And I noticed it because he has a very intense gaze. And when it's not looking in the direction you think it's going to be looking in, you definitely notice it.
But how much fun is he having? playing?
Oh,
he
a
looks
blast.
great. He looks
A blast.
great.
He's night and day. I love this. I love this for Lou Anarumo, who is scheming and coaching. I mean, he's got a great group, first and foremost. And these players are really bought in to him. And they seem like they're all playing for each other, even when they've had injuries and deficiencies and different, especially on the perimeter. Like they really are playing for each other, you can tell. And he's doing smart things with them. He's mixing his coverages a lot. He's rotating his coverage. He's confusing the quarterbacks. And it's fun for everybody. You could tell how excited, Greg, you brought it up in the show yesterday with Colleen. Like they're so excited to get back out there and play football. Like both sides of the ball, all 3 phases, they're so excited to be out there. And that's the sign of a team that can sustain this type of juice.
No Josh Simmons, by the way, in this game for the Titans. So a tough assignment gets tougher.
Jeffrey Simmons.
Jeffrey Simmons.
As perhaps, he and Calvin Ridley might be heading elsewhere. We'll head elsewhere and go to a team that was having so much fun, but the fun is starting to slow down a little bit. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a 4.5-point favorite, Jourdan, going on the road to take on the division rival New Orleans Saints. The over-under is 46.5. Kenny Albert, Jonathan Vilma there. We're not expecting Mike Evans for most of the rest of the season. A nasty fall in which he breaks his collarbone and has a concussion on the same play, like clearly motionless on the field. It was horrible to see. The streak's going to end, but Baker is always ready to fight, even before the game here. How do you see this one going?
And Baker had an awful game too. And I did get some posts sent my direction wondering what the status of Baker Ball was at this juncture. Sputtering, I would say. I still have faith. I still believe. Baker Ball keeps on rolling, baby. It's like filibustering because I knew that jarring, ear-shattering drop was coming. But I mean, this was their worst game on offense for sure last week. And I do think that they bounced back despite, again, suffering some more pretty depressing injuries. But their offensive line, they've got their offensive linemen. Saints can't really get a pass rush. Saints are showing up in spurts and fits on defense and on offense, but nothing consistent. You really need this game and a kind of a morale boost if you're Tampa Bay.
I think this is a dangerous game in the division coming off of a game like that. And you know who won't let anyone get too easy? It's Baker Mayfield. He knows what kind of rivalry it is, Bucs and Saints.
It hasn't exactly been clean play from their part when we play them. It's a physical game. I mean, it is what it is. You expect it, division rival. Yeah, not much else to say besides the fact that I don't like them.
He is so back.
He has to fire
is
himself
so
up
back.
sometimes. Like I was thinking about the long run that he had a few weeks ago, and then he looks for a defender's shoulder to walk into. This is the verbal version of that.
He's so back. He's so back. Don't pick them this week, Greg.
I didn't pick him last week.
I know, but I'm just saying. I spent the first half thinking it was your fault, and then you texted me unprompted.
I was like, I never picked him in the end.
Just don't pick him.
This is their bye week coming up, and I just think it's such a difference if they can win this game. Todd Bowles made some pretty big changes on the defense last week. Like Jacob Parrish is now kind of a slot only player, and then they like what they see out of the rookie Benjamin Morrison, who's coming in with Jamel Dean. I mean, that's great, but if we're talking about potential trades, I know they signed Hassan Reddick before the season. He's now going to be out for a few weeks.
Hurt, yeah.
He hasn't given them much. They could really use another pass rusher. Maybe this isn't the week that gets him, but I think Rattler, it does pass my baseline NFL starting quarterback test, where if you give Rattler time, he'll deliver. I know he's coming off his worst game of the season. He was due to have a bad one. He really had been so consistent before that. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints offense rebounds a little bit here and gives them some trouble.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. This is going to be, I like the 4.5 mark right here because, one, for as long as I've been covering the NFL, the Saints play Tampa tough. It does not matter if it's Drew Brees, if it's against James. It doesn't matter. It is always a very good matchup. Whoever's coaching them, every time they play it, it's a very tough game. And that game against Detroit, we can say this, they're gonna bounce back. That was an emotional draining game for them to see Mike Evans go down like that, for them to put as much into it and not play well. I mean, they competed like hell, but they did not play well. This could be a tough game for them to emotionally gather themselves. Look at their run of games that they just played. They played the Eagles at Seattle, San Francisco, and at Detroit.
Can't wait for the bye.
Yeah, I mean, this is one where it's just like, okay, let's just hang on. Let's just hang on to get there. So this could, I'm not going to say it's necessarily going to be an upset game, but this is one I keep my eye out for. It's going to be a tough game.
I might have to assign myself this. I like a little dirty South.
By the way, did you see the new Tulane uniforms that they're going to break out?
Incredible.
Those might be the greatest uniforms ever.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve, for pointing that out before I could even do that.
I mean, those are spectacular.
I have never wanted to buy a helmet so much.
The helmet?
The helmet.
Well,
the helmet.
The Uptown City Edition. We might not be a Power 5 school. We might have gone like 20 years between like having decent football teams, but they're 6-1 now, and they got the cleanest uniforms consistently in the entire college football. Put us in the playoff for that.
Then your coach goes to Penn State.
The coach is probably going somewhere, but they held on to him for one more year. And they're right there, and they're also receiving votes.
No,
we're 28th right now.
Joe Brady's going to Penn State.
Matt Rule's going to Penn State.
I hope so. Because
so does Eric.
I can't make fun of the game.
Eric's laughing in the class.
Eric, the Bills fans want Joe Brady gone. I think sneakily, weirdly, they don't.
I
like
know.
Joe Brady anymore.
If you dip into Bills Twitter at any point or Bills Blue Sky at any point, you see some things.
They're manifesting AJ Brown trades right now on Bill's Twitter.
A lot of crazy things are happening out there. We stole our coach from Troy, from the Troy Trojans. So it happens. It's a feeding system, and capitalism comes for us all one day. Let's take
a
little break.
It's about to.
We will be back for a fun Thursday night football game.
We need to survive, Greg.
Oh, my gosh.
We need to survive. We've survived as a team.
We did a great job last week picking the most one-sided game in the NFL this season. That was Chiefs-Raiders. If I wanted to feel alive, I would take the Packers this week over the Steelers, but that goes against...
Why didn't you want to feel alive last week?
I'm nothing if
I
not...
care so much about this.
Just going with the vibes and the how the wind is blowing in my emotions at the time, but that doesn't really make sense. We could take the Chiefs.
I want to know how confident Steve
I know we
feel
couldn't.
on taking the Falcons.
I knew we were going to go there.
Let's make the easy pick.
I'm almost more confident. I'm almost more confident going
Colts.
Cincinnati over the Jets.
I
Do
think
we want to save the Colts for a more difficult week?
I mean, it is my philosophy, even though I just said, let's get frisky. Never save.
Okay.
This is going to be the most the Colts are favored all season, right? We're trying to win the game here
Let's
we're
do
trying
it.
to make it to week 19. Colts it is.
I'm in.
In
Colts.
week 17, I'm going to be like, Greg, we could have had the Colts right now, but no.
It's a fair point. We will be back on Thursday night.
I'll be there. I'll be at SoFi.
Ah, cool.
That's awesome. Chargers and Vikings. Of course, we also have the pick show. Me and Cynthia Freeland picking games against the spread. That's coming up. It's like I live in the Chris Wessling podcast studio. Get me a cot. See you guys next time.
It's more Jalen Warren love.
I love Jalen Warren.